Moving on from question 2 in logical reasoning drill set number 6 over at lawhub.lsac.org, we see question 3, and we've got our highlight tool still ready to go, and we can read which one of the following, if true, most strengthens the argument. So we'll just highlight strengthens the argument, and we're going to read the paragraph on the left, and we're going to highlight in that same color whatever the ultimate conclusion is that we need to strengthen. So it reads, in one study, researchers found that about 60% of bats captured in homes or other locations abnormal for bats tested positive for rabies, as compared to only 1 out of every 1,000 bats captured free flying outdoors. These findings show that bats found outdoors are quite unlikely to have rabies. So we're going to just highlight show, and we're just going to say the one study basically shows that bats found outdoors are quite unlikely to have rabies. Now, there is a very, very subtle term shift. And if you recognize a term shift in a given argument, you can actually switch your highlight color to focus on what that term shift is. So the study explicitly says that researchers found that about 60% of bats captured in homes or other locations, abnormal for bats, tested positive for rabies. And then that is being compared to only 1 out of every 1,000 bats captured flying free outdoors. Well, a home is definitely not outdoors. But what are other locations abnormal for bats? Could that potentially be a place outdoors? We don't know. So if you can recognize a term shift such as this, you can highlight in a different color to focus your attention on what is very likely to be a point at issue within the argument. So we need to find an answer choice that shows ultimately these other locations are not flying free outdoors, because that would ultimately be a great way to weaken or might actually be an inherent flaw in the argument. And since we're trying to strengthen the argument, we want to show that flaw is actually non-existent. So we're going to go back to our orange and try to find reasons to eliminate with that term shift in mind as something we need to tighten up in the correct answer choice. Thank you for watching this explanation video of logical reasoning drill set number 6 over lawhub.lsac.org. If you enjoy the tips it contains, please consider liking the video and subscribing to My Guru's channel to be alerted when new explanation videos are released by My Guru. Also, check out the description below, because within it you'll find links to additional resources from My Guru and additional full prep test sets of video explanations. In the meantime, let's get back to this video explanation. So starting with choice A, very few of the pets that spend most of their time outdoors are bitten by bats. Okay, wonderful. Pets are a completely new variable I need additional information about, so we should be able to eliminate A almost immediately. Then choice B, of bats flying free, those with rabies are no easier to capture and test than are bats without rabies. Now, we have to consider what this means. So those with rabies being harder to capture and test than bats without rabies, that would actually weaken the argument, because now we've got a biased sample of the flying free outdoors. So that is going to be a reversal. We can highlight the rabies are no easier to capture as the part that actually weakens the argument, and we should be able to eliminate B as well. Then we've got choice C, none of the tested bats that were captured flying free outdoors were found in locations abnormal for bats. Okay, so we're on the right track here. Let's leave that open for now. Then we've got few of the tested bats were found in houses. Well, few doesn't necessarily match the 60%, and it doesn't tell us about our other locations. So this is going to need additional information again. And then choice E, none of the bats captured in abnormal locations were outdoors when caught. And ding, 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 that is exactly our term shift that we said we needed to support, basically saying that normal locations are not actually outdoors, because that would have really weakened the argument. So if we've got that prediction, we should be able to select choice E at this moment. But going back to choice C, just to prove out why it's wrong, If none of the tested bats that were captured flying free outdoors were found in locations abnormal for bats, that tells us about the flying free outdoors not being in abnormal places. But it doesn't tell us about the ones that were in the abnormal places up front. So this is actually almost a conditional reversal. Remember that when you're engaging with the digital LSAT, you probably don't want to diagram things conditionally proactively. We'd like to be more efficient by just using the highlight tools. But this ultimately would be the reason to eliminate choice C. But hopefully, you've already selected E as your correct answer a while ago.